It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Thank you for being here. You ready for this one?
I'm ready.
Are you sure you're ready for this one?
I don't know.
The Department of Government Efficiency announced a further wave of contract terminations late Saturday, noting they identified thousands of cases where more than $300 million in loans were granted to children. DOGE says it identified that the Small Business Administration granted nearly 5,600 loans for $312 million to borrowers whose only listed owner was 11 years old or younger at the time of the loan.
You know,
the loans were issued in 2020 and 2021 while the world struggled with the COVID-19 pandemic, and it's unclear what they were used for. While it is possible to have business arrangements where this is legal, this is highly unlikely for these 5,593 loans, as they all also used a Social Security number with an incorrect name. DOGE are working together to solve this problem this week. Wow.
So they all had incorrect names associated with their social.
As they all also used Social Security number with an incorrect name.
Well,
with the technology,
I'm no detective, but something sounds fishy.
Yes. Well, did we not have the ability? I don't care whether you're doing a million transactions. Don't we have the technology and the ability to flag these things? Even during COVID.
I don't know how. Yeah.
Unless
I don't know how it's not. You know, I get one line wrong on my tax return.
I can't get away with anything.
Right.
Do you know?
Now, I started a lawn business at the age of 10. I also closed down my lawn business at the age of 10.
I'm not making this up. This goes back to 1980, early 86. I'm living in Marshall, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not making a great deal of money. You know, beginning job in radio.
Mm-hmm.
And there it appears in the mail, the letter from the IRS.
Dun, dun, dun.
Not making it up. They have...
Not like you do on your taxes.
Right, exactly.
I have 1,400 dependents.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't cheat now. They simplified it.
Right.
I want to cheat. I can't. They've simplified it. But I got a letter from the IRS that I can't remember exactly what it was, but I owed them 56 cents. I'm not making this up. Now, I was always amazed because if we ever had like a loan balance of $10 or less, you just wipe it out when I was a bill collector.
Yeah. Right.
And so
they just write it off.
See, they just write it off.
They just write it off.
You don't even know what writing it off means, do you? No, but they do, and they're the ones writing it off.
Write it off.
And it ticked me off. So you know what I did? What were stamps then? Stamps for 20 cents maybe? I waited till they sent me 3 notices. This was my own little rebellion, my own little civil war.
Yeah.
So I waited. No, I waited till they sent me 2 more because they sent me that one. I figured I don't know why, because I don't think they even pay for it, but I figured, okay, it costs them 20 cents each to send that thing.
Yeah.
And therefore, I'll now pay them. So I waited till I realized till they sent me more than I owed them, just the postage. And then I sent a check for 56 cents to the IRS.
Yeah.
True story. 56 cents.
You had
back
to
in
write
86.
a check for 56 cents.
Yes, I did. 56 cents. And they didn't explain to me what I did wrong. And I wasn't going to try to figure that out for 56 cents.
No.
Even back then, because just so people know, any young person, 56 cents in 1986 is $12,432 today. That's how much inflation has gone up.
Yeah, it's inflation. Yep. 22 cents was the stamp price.
Okay, 20. Okay. So that would have been it. I waited two more times.
Yeah.
Because that would have added 56 cents, and then I sent it in. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
No, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yes. I'll always remember that. I went 56 cents. And the only other time was, it goes back to, 2000. I hadn't moved into my house yet, so it was over 18 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe 20 years ago, I, go home, coming home from work, done with work. And we had the centralized mailboxes, out in front of the townhouse complex I lived in. I opened it up, and there it was, IRS.
Yeah.
So immediately right there, I open it up right there. You don't even wait. I didn't even close the mailbox.
Right. Yeah.
You open it up.
Yeah.
And I owe them over $6,000.
Oh.
And it's over $5,000, then a $1,000 penalty.
Ouch.
Well, let's put it this way. I have a doctor's appointment next week where they will check my blood pressure.
Mm-hmm.
I would not have gone to the doctor at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
I would have been immediately admitted into the emergency room.
Yeah.
So, again, didn't have everything on computer. Everything was still on paper at that point for me. I went home. I didn't eat dinner, anything. 2 hours later, it looked like a hurricane hit my living room. There were papers all over the place.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And I just put something on the wrong line. I didn't owe them anything. I put it on the wrong line, and they just didn't. However, I can't remember exactly what it was, but I put something on the wrong line, and it got calculated wrong. And that was it. And when I called them, we see it. Okay, we'll correct it. I said, yeah, but it says I need to send you a letter back within a certain amount of time, or I owe this anyway, whether I owe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, well, no, you're fine. You can just do this. I didn't trust him. I put everything on paper, exactly what it was.
Yeah.
And I sent it certified letter to the IRS just so I had it there. And then I talked to a tax lawyer later on, and he said, you didn't need to do that. I said, why? And he said, if you don't owe it, you don't owe it.
Right.
Right. They can't say that if you don't respond to this, it's an admission that you owe it. He goes, that doesn't stand up in court.
No.
He said, so you were.
Yeah. About 15 years ago, I got something similar, and I had, in fact, the guy that did my taxes at the time put something on the wrong line, and I ended up owing another $300-something. And I fired my tax guy, Al Sharpton, right after that. I decided no more. But I'm like you. I'm like, what?
Oh, the panic.
And my tax guy lived a couple hours away. Well, I was packing a bag. I was going to be standing in front of him, or possibly on his desk in 2 hours. And then I read through it, and it was like, it looks like something, that this was put here. It was supposed to go there. And then I called my tax guy, and I was like, okay. And if you just sign this and acknowledge that, because they found the mistake, it's like, okay, All right, that's fine. And I ran it through him. He's, yeah, that was the mistake. All right. And I said, goodbye. Before I say goodbye, you're fired and goodbye. And I literally fired him on that day.
Did you really?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I don't want that,
You
I
don't want that
coming
feeling
back.
again.
Well, I don't, it's, if I'm going to put that on anybody, I'd rather put it on me, So, yeah. Yeah.
I wouldn't panic anymore if I got something because I know that I do my own taxes, and so
right.
I know I do them correctly. And if I didn't, I would know that there's no way that I would miss owing over $5,000.
Yeah.
Taxes. There's no way.
I've been doing it for so long. I don't like doing it, but I can do it. And the software makes it so much easier.
Oh, yeah. And the Republicans made it easier for me. The Republicans made it easier but more expensive for me at tax time.
Well, exactly. I'm doing mine. I don't know if you can do this, but I can do mine on a postcard. Now, the writing is not legible because it's very, 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 very small. But I can do it on the postcard.
Just so people know, when I said that, it's actually true. The Republican tax cut in 2017?
Yeah.
Raised both my taxes and Eric's taxes.
Right.
Because we have some of the same business deductions that they took away. So that was the problem. The Republicans figured out what the problem was in raising revenue. Eric and Gary were not paying enough.
Right.
By the way, we fully supported the tax. We didn't support the tax benefit they gave us.
Being taken away. Yeah,
being taken away. And
that part of it.
Well, not in just because I think it cost me $1,500 more a year. It wasn't even because of that. It was because that is as you and I talked about it back then, and I'm not going to get into the specifics of it, but that was a tax or a tax deduction that you would get that actually gives you incentive to make a lot more money, and therefore you pay more taxes.
Right.
And we thought it was a regressive move, that particular part of the tax code that they took away. But the rest of it, 99.9% of it we agreed with.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
But I remember what I said at the time. Oh, my. If our taxes go up when Republicans cut taxes, what's it going to be like when the Democrats raise taxes?
They'll go up again.
Republicans raise. Eric, my taxes went down. Democrats raise taxes.
Well, it's going to be MEPA. Make Eric pay again. It's always something. Everybody wants my money.
But there you go. So that was that's weird with DOGE, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah,
312 million. Well, that's all fraud. That's
fraud.
fraud.
I mean, if the names don't match the social,
that's fraud.
Yeah, that's all fraud. But so my question would be, then the names were the names of the people that wanted to cash the checks, or maybe the identity that they were using in order to cash the checks that were coming, and the social numbers would be those of children. So maybe the bad guys, I'm just guessing, maybe the bad guys got the Social Security numbers of a bunch of kids, right?
But they say the Social Security number didn't match the name.
That's what I mean. So if you take a valid Social Security number,
of a kid, okay,
of a kid, right?
Okay, I guess.
But then they write on the check. I don't know. Was it a check? I don't know how that stuff all worked. The loans.
Yeah.
But then maybe there needed to be a matching name on an account or whatever, and so that's why the names didn't match, because eventually they needed to use the adult name in order to get the money in the bank. I don't know. But how is there not? How is there not a safety net? You know, if we're going to use AI, this is what we use AI for.
No, you're right. Because they said when making the announcement, DOGE shared a post on X from Tuesday when it also revealed in 2020 and 2021 the SBA issued 3,095 loans for $333 million to borrowers over 115 years old.
Yeah.
The borrowers were still marked as alive in the Social Security database. In one case, a 157-year-old individual received $36,000 in loans. The loans included the PPP, Paycheck Protection Program, and the EIDL, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan.
Yeah. Wow.
And I want to make this clear. My dad received no money in either of those.
None of my grandkids got anything, to be clear. Yeah.
866-90 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
When it comes to U.S. meat production forecast for this year,
For 2025, we expect production to keep growing at a slightly higher rate than what we saw in 24. In contrast to 24, however, the declines in beef and turkey production will be more than offset by higher growth rates in pork and broiler production.
USDA livestock analyst Michael McConnell at this year's Agricultural Outlook Forum. Turning to meat trade projections for 2025.
The outlook is for lower beef and broiler exports, while pork exports are expected to grow. Beef exports are expected to be constrained by lower production levels expected in the coming year, while respective competitive stories for pork and broiler exports in 24 are expected to carry over in 2025.
And regarding prices,
Cattle, hog, chicken prices are all expected to increase. Cattle will be supported by tight cattle inventories and resilient demand. Hog and chicken prices will be supported by higher cattle prices. And in terms of turkey prices, we have seen that the hen price fall substantially since peaking in 2022. Fairly significant production cuts have not thus far resulted in supported prices. We expect that to turn in 2025. However, with average prices still below $1, forecast is still relatively low by historical standards.
I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Crony, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Coming up following the bottom of the hour, really interesting story about schools that are bringing back shop class.
Oh.
It's really a fascinating story. Meanwhile, the city of Huntington Beach, California, has filed suit against the state of California for its laws protecting dangerous illegal aliens and for its support of sanctuary policies. The city is working with America First Legal to sue the state, Governor Gavin Newsom, and the Attorney General for acts and policies that they maintain violate federal immigration, criminal, and civil rights law. Since California, this is a quote, since California began passing sanctuary laws in 2017, tens of thousands of dangerous criminal illegal aliens have been released by local law enforcement back into the community, and violent crime has surged nearly 20% in the state. The legal aid group pointed out that Orange County alone released more than 1,000 dangerous criminal illegal aliens in 2018 alone. The lawsuit takes aim at California's sanctuary laws that limit the ability of all local police forces to cooperate with Immigration and Customs Enforcement and other federal agencies. The suit asks the courts to enjoin the state from enforcing its unconstitutional sanctuary state law. Federal law is clear. Another quote from America First Legal. Federal law is clear. It is a crime to conceal, harbor, or shield illegal aliens, and it is a crime to prevent federal officials from discharging their duties. It is also against federal law to prevent local officials from communicating with DHS about the immigration status of individuals. And that's what they claim the sanctuary city law does to their local community.
Right.
They're saying the state law is keeping them from cooperating with ICE, and they wish to.
Wow.
Be interesting to see where this goes.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Friday Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. This is interesting because we've talked about the shift in education, in this country, and some of the useless degrees out there, and just the focus of education in general, and the problem that industry has had over the last couple of decades of finding young people that are qualified technically in technical, curriculum, to work there. And this was Wall Street Journal, schools reviving shop class. School districts around the U.S. are spending tens of millions of dollars to expand and revamp high school shop classes for the 21st century. They are betting on the future of manual skills overlooked in the digital age, offering vocational education classes that school officials would say give the students a broader view of career prospects with or without college. In the suburb of Madison, Wisconsin, Middleton High School completed a $90 million campus overhaul in 2022 that included new technical education facilities. The school shop classes for years tucked away in a back corridor are now on display. Fishbowl-style glass walls show off the new manufacturing lab equipped with computer-controlled machine tools and robotic arms. Interest in the classes is high. About a quarter of the school's 2,300 students signed up for at least one of the courses in construction, manufacturing, and woodworking at Middleton High, one of Wisconsin's highest-rated campuses for academics. We want kids going to college to feel these courses fit on their transcripts along, with all the other honors and extracurricular activities and courses that they take now, said Quincy Miller-John, a former English teacher who is now a welding instructor at the school.
Oh, wow.
He shows his schools the local union pay scales for iron workers, steam fitters, and boiler makers, careers that pay anywhere from $41 to $52 an hour. Kids can see that these are not knuckle-dragging jobs.
All right.
In Wisconsin, 32,000 high school students took classes in architecture and construction during the 2022-2023 school year, a 10% increase over the prior year. 36,000 enrolled in manufacturing courses, a 13% increase over the same period. The shift is happening, said Jake Mim, a education consultant in the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction. They're high-skill, high-wage jobs that are attractive to people because they're hands-on and heads-on. Renewed interest among local governments, school districts, businesses, and voters has triggered the investment in shop classes, which for decades have lost enrollment, pushed aside by higher demand for college prep courses. Ohio and other states offered school financial incentives for classes that lead to industry certifications in such high-demand jobs as pharmaceutical technician and pipe fitters. So, fascinating.
Well, I like the idea. The fishbowl thing intrigues me because I think it is important. Recruiting maybe isn't the right word, but way to gain the interest of other students to consider that, right? It's not your old, it is hands-on, but as they explained, it's also minds-on, which means you still have to use your brain. There's a lot of tech that's involved today. If you look at becoming an ASC certified technician, right, or a diesel tech, well, man, you got to know so much, and you have to go through training. The OEMs require training. If you're doing a diesel tech kind of thing, they require training, and a lot of shops do every several months. You've got to get up on the latest. There's no way you can just go in and go, okay, I'm done learning. I'll just work on what I know, because what you're working on is changing every day. But you get into the and that applies on so many levels of what, I mean, you think about welding. Who teaches welding anymore, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you really have to go out of your way to find that. But more importantly, of the younger generation, who's interested in welding?
What I liked was when he said we want kids going to college to feel that these courses also fit on their transcripts. I've told the story many times. It was in 1969 when my father told me. When I was 14 years old, he said, you're not going to be able, because, for example, my one grandfather worked at the railroad his entire life.
Mm-hmm.
He started there, he retired there, 40 years later, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
45 years later. He said, you're not going to be able to do that anymore. And he said, you need to be good at 3 or 4 different things in the economies that are coming our way now.
Right.
And so for us, it was both.
Yeah.
And in college, I worked at a bank, and I was also a club DJ. After I said, okay, I can be a radio star, I sucked. I know, I still do. And so I went back to doing what my family always did, which was, and I was trained in it, machining. Steel worker, machinist, whatever. I had no problem jumping from one to the other. I didn't sit there and I went, whoa. And you know what was the highest paying job I had that beat anything that I was college trained for, the bank and everything else when I was working, and they wanted me to go into the management training and all that that I started doing. But then I said, nope, I don't want to be in banking. Well, working on the machines paid me more.
Yeah, right.
Being a good machinist paid me more. But I didn't feel like I was stepping down at all. Some other people did. There's some of my peers that went, you went to college, you're working there? I go, yeah, what's the point? But I grew up in a technical family. I grew up in an engineering family. I grew up my family was all manufacturing. That was it. So I didn't view one as, less than the other. It was work. And it was interesting work. It was hard work. But the technical work of it, that taxed my brain way more than anything else I'd ever done.
Yeah.
Being a machinist, reading blueprints, doing all that.
Yep.
Knowing how to run these machines, and a number of machines I had to do was great. And I liked that. I liked that I could seamlessly move from business to industry.
Right.
And then back again.
Yeah.
I like that. I mean, to me, there's a security in that. You're not just in, this is what I do and this is all I've ever done. And there's a freedom, there's a confidence that comes in there. And so I've always looked at it even recently when people say, well, you don't need college. It's like, well, maybe you don't. You might not. But for my father,
But if you do and you don't have it, you're not going to get it overnight.
Right. Well, as my father said, he goes, you need to get both. I said, well, what do I do? A trade or college? He goes, both. I went, well, that's hard. It's going to be hard one. It's either going to be hard now or it's going to be hard later. There is no getting around it. You and I always talked about, and I saw this the other day, you don't work hard, you work smart. I'm sorry. If you want to make it, you do both.
Yeah. Well, the more you work smart, the harder you work and apply that.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
The efficiency is the idea, but you still keep working hard after creating that efficiency. I'm not creating the efficiency so I can work less. You want to be more productive along the way. And it's, again, I don't know. I don't know if there is this reemergence of a generation of kids who might be interested in manufacturing or whatever it might be, engineering. But it's always going to be necessary. hands-on jobs will be necessary.
I like just in life. Again, I'll go back to that sentence. We want kids going to college to feel these courses fit on their transcripts along with, everything else that you do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's wonderful because I think they should experience making something.
Yeah. Right.
Or creating something. Because welding is also making something. You're making sure that everything is, connected together right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, whatever. Any of those things out there, those are all professions where you can't make a mistake.
Right. Right.
And we've talked about this a lot. We've talked about the private sector on so many things, everything that we engineer, everything that we manufacture, you can't make a mistake.
Right.
Government, you can lie, you can do whatever you want, you can throw out the biggest BS known to mankind, and you keep rolling along. And you and I've talked about that in the private sector, you can't do that. And I think, especially when it comes to manufacturing things, you can't mess up a bridge.
Right.
You can't mess up as an electrician. Someone will die.
Right. Yeah.
And I like that young people are learning that and are also being taught now, it seems, that you can go to college and you can also understand technical concepts because you took it in high school and maybe you want some electives or maybe it gives you an opportunity to work at a job that pays more while you're going to college to do something else.
Mm-hmm.
But I just like the confidence that it will instill in young people that I'm not limited to one thing.
Right.
I can do 2, 3, 4 different things, which again goes back to John McNamara, my dad back in 1969, telling me that you got to be good at 3 or 4 different things.
Right.
If you wish to really succeed and have the confidence, to have those bad times and know, wait a minute, I'm qualified in a bunch of different things. I can work in a bunch of different areas. That's what you want. And as he always told me, the idiots are the ones that believe that the private sector will adapt to you.
Right.
You've got to adapt to not just the private sector, wherever the jobs are. In the job market, you have to adapt. It's up to you to adapt because you'll get the job quicker. Not saying that industry doesn't ever adapt, because we saw that a little bit. Well, industry's going to have to adapt to the helicopter parents coming in and doing the interview for their children. That really never came to fruition, did it?
No, that wasn't a thing. But it's still very much alive that people believe that companies need to adapt. I mean, we're still dealing with work from home.
Yeah, you're right.
Companies forcing.
You're right.
Here we are.
A perfect example.
COVID's not a thing anymore. It's not, but working from home, getting them back to the office in some cases has been like pulling teeth because those workers believe those companies should adapt to them.
Mm-hmm.
Not how it works.
No.
And that's, you create that, by the way. That's along the lines of the pathology of dependency from, Daniel Patrick Moynihan. In this case, you created something and you should have expected people would not want to go back to the office. But again, that's the worker thinking, no, they need to adapt to me. It doesn't work that way. Yeah. It really doesn't.
The same with the crying Starbucks worker. They're making me work, 20 hours this week and I have to go to college or whatever.
Right,
and
yeah.
It's like, welcome to the real world.
Yeah, exactly.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Running Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I really wonder where this story is going to go. Biden's auto pen signature appears on most official documents, raising concerns over who controlled the White House. A majority of official documents signed by Biden allegedly used the same auto pen signature, reinvigorating concerns of the former president's mental acuity and if he actually ordered the signature on these legal documents. A report published by an arm of the Heritage Foundation. Whoever controlled the auto pen controlled the presidency. The oversight project, in which is an initiative within the Conservative Heritage Foundation that investigates the government to bolster transparency, posted on X on Thursday.
Oh, I want to learn so much more.
Yep, I agree.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.